Hey everyone, Justin Holland here with the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. Listen, everybody, I want to tell you, I'm real excited about this show. We're really getting some momentum here, and I think you're going to want to stick around and listen to our guests. We've got a nonprofit that's joined us, as well as a congressional candidate, actually in my district. She's one of the first of many that we hope to have on to talk about some of the issues that are affecting the audience. But as always, I do a little housekeeping to kick off the show. It's the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. We really focus on everything insurance. And I'm not going to spend much on this show on some of the headlines. I'll probably do that next week because I'm actually waiting for some news to hopefully get better, specifically on the health insurance side. But we typically talk about everything insurance, the auto, home, life insurance, Medicare plans, the employee benefits situations that we're seeing on that coverage. I was actually talking to my guest a minute ago just on the challenges with that, as well as an individual health insurance. I will tease you with this though. I helped out many people this week with affordable insurance, not Affordable Care Act, private insurance that actually saved them quite a bit of money. So if I just wanted to tease the audience with that, let us know if you're interested in getting a quote because this is helping my small group clients with alternatives as well as individuals out there. The agencies that we've got here in town, real quickly, Texas State Insurance Services. Just think of that on everything health insurance, employee benefits, Medicare, and individual health. 210-880-5316. The website is txstateinsurance.com. Palmetto Life Group is the division I created for our life insurance, our long-term care insurance. I'm a registered Social Security analyst, an RSSA. It's as boring as it sounds, but we get down and look at the Social Security analysis for you out there as well. And if I hadn't mentioned already, auto, home, and commercial lines of business, that number is 877-357-5316 or palmettolifegroup.com. If you're just going to catch the beginning of the show and you think you're going to miss it, I don't want you to miss it while you're scooting around San Antonio, or you might be watching this recording online. That's where I'm segueing into. Go to our YouTube channel if you can, and I want to make sure I get the domain here correct. YouTube.com/@ Mad Insurance Show. That's going to take you to our page. I've got plenty of videos with other nonprofits and visits about our industry. You can always reference that. We'll have some good clips out there. And I had to plug our YouTube channel on there as well. So I got my housekeeping out of the way, everybody. And if you put up with that 3 minutes, I appreciate it. Now we really want to talk about our guests. And I'll tease you with both guests that I've got here, but we'll kick off with our nonprofit guest. I have Vinsen Faris, the CEO of Meals on Wheels, San Antonio, as well as Katy Padilla Stout. And she's a congressional candidate for TX-23, which is my district. And I think everybody that's in that district, we're anxious to see what's there. And I've reached out to all my candidates out there or the local candidates here in the San Antonio area. Katy's our first guest on that. So we're going to talk about, legislation, what's really affecting the constituents out there. And hopefully that will resonate. And then, that'll get to Washington, D.C., and they can help everybody out with that. So without further ado, Vinsen Faris, CEO of Meals on Wheels. You've been putting up with me for a few minutes here before the show, and I can't thank you enough. Vinsen, thank you for joining us today.
Justin, it's my pleasure. This is, I was kidding you earlier. Did we have anything to talk about since we have been both going
We've been
nonstop
going at it.
since we encountered each other? But no, in all seriousness, thank you for being here.
No, I'm so glad you're here. You and I talked a little bit about, how I got introduced to Meals on Wheels years ago, through before she was even my wife, helping out an individual. Love what you're doing. That resonated with me. And I'm so glad that we're having you on for our nonprofit segment to talk about Meals on Wheels San Antonio. Let's kick things off. The first question I got for you, you both, before you got into Meals on Wheels, tell us about yourself, where you're from, the nonprofit world. Can you give us a little background so we know who we're visiting with?
Sure. I grew up in Arlington, and that was Arlington of many years ago before the Cowboys invaded, before Jerry arrived. So a very, very different community then. I had my mind set on law school, and I actually was on a pre-law track and life got in the way. I had
Kind of does that.
was working at Six Flags Over Texas, and this was a Six Flags of many years
Oh
ago. It's
yeah,
very different from the Six Flags of
it's
today,
different.
and it was an amazing time, and I got hooked on people,
Okay.
and that is where I learned so much about people because that's what life is, and so that really got me on my service trek. But it was food service, and I spent a number of years in food service hospitality business, but
The
uh,
private sector over there.
private sector,
Okay.
and
You got some
I
stories there too, I'm sure.
stories there. But it came a time that what do I want to do? And I accidentally discovered a small little organization in North Central Texas that was looking for an executive director, and it had nutrition involved with it. And I thought, multi-unit food service management, I am your guy.
Yeah.
And they said, "Where did you come from?" But I was very fortunate; they hired me, and I worked for Meals on Wheels of Johnson and Ellis counties for
Oh, really?
almost 30 years, and that
Oh,
was
man, I
what
just drove up through there going up to Fort Worth. It's a
that
beautiful area.
I learned really quick that I did not know anything about running an organization like this. I did not understand the funding. I was clueless, and so of course went back to school for some added help.
Did you
But
really?
I have been in the aging services world for a few years now.
You're, like I mentioned, a lot of my you're just getting warmed up, off of that, which is great. Love the background. You're a Texas native, so great. You're in good company here on the show. Let's talk about, you engaging Meals on Wheels San Antonio. How did that come about? You were in the Johnson City area. You came a little bit farther south. Let's dive into that.
I had known my predecessor for about 15 years.
Okay.
And what started off somewhat as a joke, like, hey, you should be replacing me because I'm going to be leaving. She took an extended retirement tour. I always like to kid Sharon about that. And it started off kind of jokingly at first, but then we got serious. And that my spouse and I were no longer taking care of our parents. So that privilege had passed us. Our one son was out of state. And it was like, maybe I should look into this. And so we got serious about it. We looked into it, and I was lucky enough to be offered the position. So I've been in San Antonio now right at 10 years
10 years
and
time.
having the absolute time of my life.
I love San Antonio. I'm right there with you. I'm glad you're here helping out this organization. Before you arrived, I mean, 10 years that you got a decade under your belt here locally. What did it look like? Were there any changes? Were some struggles that maybe I'm not trying to put the other prior people that were in place, but stuff that they might have been struggling with that you guys really tried to take and turn around for
The organization, we're soon to be celebrating our 50th year
50
here in the
years?
community, which is
Okay.
amazing. I can tell you that our mission is more important today, or every bit as important, but I really think more important than when our founders got it together in the mid
I believe
70s.
it.
And when I was hired, the board that hired me said, "Hey, Vincent, we know we need to do more. Let's see what we can do to serve more people in the community." And the second part of it was, we've got to find a place to do it from because this old Wyatt's cafeteria that we've occupied over
Wyatt.
here is just about to fall down around us.
Was that
And
where
so,
it was at? Was it at Wyatt's
yes, we
cafeteria?
we started out in the kitchen of the Fellowship Hall at St. John's Lutheran downtown, and we were busting at the seams when the organization bought the old Wyatt's building on 410 in 93, moved in 1994.
Okay.
And so it has served us well. We have been in our new location
Which is
off
beautiful.
of Nacogdoches and 410 now for just over 3 years.
We're gonna talk about where Meals on Wheels is located as well, and we're gonna also bring in Katie, to talk about kinda she teased this a minute ago on some of the background or where the Meals on Wheels fits into her segment. But, real quick, let's talk about Meals on Wheels, the location. It's there on Nacogdoches Road. People can actually donate time or companies can come in or just,
Oh, right.
drop a check off and everything.
Absolutely. But come down and see where the magic is made. We have a 6-acre campus right there at Nacogdoches and Danbury. It's kind of behind Mama's Cafe and Broadway
Mhm.
Bank, if people know the area. But it is Meals on Wheels is owned by the community to serve by the community. And the efforts that the community put in to create this campus is amazing. We have almost an acre under roof. We have an unbelievable kitchen that can
Been
produce
in
over
there.
30,000 hot meals a day.
30,000.
And, we have a viewing hallway. People can see the meals being prepared from start to finish. But come on down. We have an Alzheimer's day activity center there, as well as
You go,
our
really?
entire staff.
Okay, I didn't realize you probably showed that to me. I mean, because you had sprawling. You've got all these meetings, areas and conference rooms and stuff like that, if I remember
You're
correctly.
remembering exactly
Okay.
right. During we make that available to groups who need meeting space, and during this past year, we've had almost 4,000 individuals coming in using our meeting rooms that haven't been there for Meals on Wheels purposes.
Hmm.
And it's been a lot of nonprofits, it's been a lot of community groups, but we've actually had some of our corporate partners as well.
I'm glad you're reminding me of that because I totally forgot. I do a lot of Medicare workshops and health insurance 101 stuff like that, just because it's a mess trying to navigate that. But we're going to try to do a workshop on AI and helping that senior community kind of navigate that and how it can help you. Not to go off subject, but I can't tell you how many calls I get from a senior client. Hey, I paid this bill, Justin. I'm like, no, you shouldn't have. Maybe AI can come in and help the seniors kind of navigate some of the stuff with all the fraud and shysters out there. I'm going to get with you at some point on that, and maybe we can do a workshop
That
if
would be
if you
awesome,
guys would
sir.
be cool with that.
That would be awesome.
Very cool. A day to day on the Meals on Wheels. From I'd love to know kind of your level. The back end support that you've got there, and not just that, the volunteers. That come in, not just the staff. Can you give us an idea of what that daily operation or weekly
Well,
operation looks
it
like?
truly takes a village. And the village here of the greater San Antonio community is amazing with the support. Because you mentioned volunteers, we have a many, many thousand donors who help us as
Good.
well. Because as much as we would like to think that everything is free, we of course know that it is not. There
It
are
is.
costs associated with it. But our team starts in the morning around 4 a.m. is when the equipment starts getting fired up in the kitchen. Uh, and we're producing almost 9,000 meals a day right now. And that is for the meals that we provide to the City of San Antonio senior centers. That is somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000 meals. We have meals going out for homebound clients in 9 counties that surround Bexar
I was
County.
gonna ask the reach
And,
there. Okay.
and then we have about 3,200 individuals here in Bexar County that we're serving on a daily basis. And so, you know, we have we have volunteers and staff members knocking on almost 3,000 doors Monday through Friday. You know, hey, how you doing? I'm here with Meals on Wheels, and people think, oh, you're delivering a meal. Yes, you are delivering a meal, but you're doing more than that. And you understand this because
You and I were just
you
talking
saw
about it.
it firsthand a number of years ago. It's a wellness check. It's a friendly
No
hello. Hey,
question.
how are you doing? It's breaking that isolation that these folks have because so many people have no one else to talk to. They don't see anyone during the day.
And it's that boomer generation that, that's in that and then some. And not to go off on another tangent, but you and I were talking about that. Just somebody to talk to. That welfare, that wellness check, just you know, um, I think we need to do a better job. And I know we get all tied up in our day to day, and we're trying to run a business or take care of family, and then complain about little insignificant issues and
Right.
everything. When there's people that are lonely, they ain't got anybody,
They don't.
and I can see where y'all. I saw firsthand with the individual Kenneth. I got to do a shout out to Kenneth. He's no longer with us, but I saw back in 2008 what you guys were doing and the fruit of that and how happy he was because I mean he'd get fired up too when we'd come in because we'd bring him some candy and all kinds of goodies as well. But I cannot thank y'all enough for what y'all are doing and that you're leading that charge off of that. Any other the day? I mean, 9,000 meals
Mhm.
are those like distributed daily, weekly, or I mean, do you like
It's
load them up and then and
it's
take care of them for a week?
some people get meals daily.
Okay,
Some see us a couple of times a week, and some only once a week, depending on the need out there.
okay, cool.
But everything we do is trying to keep people in their home. We want them in a safe environment that's acceptable to them and their families if they still have family support. And it's the place that they're happier, and especially these latter years of their life. And some of these folks are, they have outlived their loved ones, they've outlived their savings,
Hmm.
and they are pretty isolated, as you mentioned. And when isolation kicks in, all kinds of mental health issues can kick in. When that happens, medicine no longer works the way it's supposed to. And, loneliness, isolation, they say it is harmful as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Really? Wow.
And I mean, it's just really bad. But with the human touch, letting people know that they're not forgotten makes a big difference when people are starting to eat this wonderful meal that we provide. It's amazing how much better those medicines work. You were talking about the gentleman there, how he started looking forward to that volunteer coming and that meal.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, it is proven fact that people who receive Meals on Wheels have a less likelihood of falling and having a hip fracture than those that don't. There are a couple of reasons. One, they're getting stronger by getting up out of the chair to go to answer the
Yeah.
door. Two, the nourishment that they're getting from the meal, the mind is working better there, so they're more aware of their surroundings. And the other thing is they're keeping their house picked up better. So
Mhm.
the clutter's not there so that they take a fall because we know when someone has a hip fracture, things don't go.
This just popped in my head. I think, and this is coming from an individual like me that can donate time or effort or money off of that. I think many people listening to the show or watching us online would be shocked or surprised on the fulfillment they get volunteering, going in and helping, just talking to some of these people. You might learn something, too, from some of these people that have
Well,
some history and
they
interesting lives.
they have made it possible for us to be here. And these were teachers, they
Yep.
were firemen, they stocked our grocery shelves. They made it for us today.
Backbone.
And so if you were out knocking on doors today, on any given day of the week, if you were out there today, there's at least 20 people that are over the age of 100 that are still living in their homes by
Yeah.
themselves. You might get to meet one of our centenarians out
No,
there.
that's a great
Our
point.
our oldest client's birthday is actually today, and she's turning 104 years old.
Are you kidding
So
me?
that's pretty cool.
104?
Living by herself.
I will tell you, I think we're living longer lives. We're just not necessarily living healthier lives, and that goes for diet or exercise or maybe just stuff that's the genetic, and all of that as well. But the hope that you're giving these individuals, to just keep going and in some cases probably surviving, is huge. I was going to ask you this on we were talking a minute ago. Y'all are kind of the first line of defense on seeing maybe an issue that needs to be addressed. I
That's
mean,
correct.
and you're working hand in hand. I'm assuming with other nonprofits. Hey, you need to go take a look at Lucy over here or whatever, and take a look at her or Vince over here. So can we go off on that? Just let's say, hey, we will absolutely see these, and we let another nonprofit come in and try to help.
Right. And oftentimes these individuals that we're serving have no family here. They may be living out of state or other side of the state. And so it's calls to the family members to check on them, but it's also calls to other groups to come in and look. And what we do keeps people out of the emergency room. It
Hmm.
doesn't tie up we keep the EMS services from
I
being
get
tied
that.
up. Their stays in the hospital, should they have to go in, are much, much less because they're healthier going in because of the nutrition factor
Hmm.
of it. And so there's a real cost saving to the public. And with Katie here today, she knows. I mean, an investment in Meals on Wheels saves you and I tax dollars
No question.
because these folks are not going to wind up in Medicaid beds in nursing homes and
Becoming
their
a ward of the
hospital
state,
stays. Yes, sir.
ultimately, and that can be and you just don't know a lot if unless you've lived it or taken care of a long-term care living situation for a loved one or a family member or a friend, not until you really go through that do you really realize, how taxing it can be, and if you're not prepared. That's one of the reasons why I'm so adamant, hey, long-term care, Social Security planning, just because, you gotta be ready. It takes money, it takes time, it takes the nonprofits that you guys are doing. Back to money funding. You guys source on funding. What's the mix of maybe government grants, private donations, corporate partnerships? We know we've got some significant, very blessed to have some of the significant corporate partners that probably help y'all as well. Can we dive into that on
Right.
what keeps the lights on?
Right. 43% of all the funding that comes into Meals on Wheels San Antonio is philanthropic. And that is from very small donations to some very, very
Significant.
generous gifts. And that's from individuals as well as corporate philanthropy there and foundations. This past year, our governmental monies, and this was passed through federal dollars, some state dollars, is right at 35%.
Is that a
The
decrease or an increase or
Well, it's changing because of part of what we are doing with our Comfy Casas, which is our home repair, home modification program. That
okay?
has more governmental money into it than philanthropic. On the Meals on Wheels side of just the home delivered meals, uh, the governmental money that comes to that is less than 30%.
Really?
So it is the community supporting the Meals on Wheels program.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we've got legislature candidate here as well because I mean, I think some modifications and some tweaks can probably help. And,
Absolutely.
and here's the deal too: we can't depend on our government and everybody to take care of us. We got to be proactive as well. But man, I just some people just don't have a fair shake. Some people just don't have a shot, and they need some help there. Let me double check my questions here. As far as the geography, let's talk about the reach that you guys. I think you said 9 counties. And we were talking Southern Springs and all of that. I mean, you guys go to some rural areas
We
here in
do.
San Antonio.
We do. And so we're the primary Meals on Wheels provider in Bexar, Atascosa, and Frio counties.
Okay.
But Wilson, Karnes, Guadalupe, Edwards, Uvalde, a lot of Katie's district,
Oh yeah.
we're out there, and we're a secondary meal provider to those counties.
To back them up on whatever they're doing locally.
Yes.
Okay, cool. What else the team providing show up for someone's door? Imagine a daily check-in means something very different to someone who lives alone. I guess we kind of really talked about that.
Mhm.
Just what the impact y'all are making.
Well, you mentioned about what do they do and what do they see? So they
Yeah.
will report on the client's conditions,
Okay.
and if they're seeing someone, do they look like they did the last time? Do they seem a little off? Do they seem
Something
with it?
deteriorating.
But they also look at the house and the surroundings. Is it safe? Can they do something? Are their boards loose on the porch? Is
Wheelchair
the door
ramp,
down?
something.
A person's hard of hearing is no longer hearing our knock. Can Meals on Wheels can step in through our comfy casas and put a doorbell in to help people, the doorbell that flashes on the inside. Uh, we had one lady that was referred to us, had not been out of her house in 4 years, and she had been hospitalized, came home, got in a wheelchair, oversized wheelchair. The wheelchair would not go through the front door. No, people were bringing food to her. People were checking on her, but she had not been out of the house in 4 years. And we went back in and was able to come back in and do some home modification for a wider door and work in her bathroom so that she could have access to
Give
her
them a little
showers
hope.
there. So
I'm sure she was.
one of the other things that we do too, and it's a very very popular service that we have, is our animals, because these furry companions, these guys, that's you're talking about loneliness. So these furry
Yeah.
companions are everything to these
I'm a
people.
crazy dog person with my
And
wife,
so,
so I get it.
we were seeing food trays out by the front door, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? And you look and you realize that the client is saving part of their meal to feed their dog or their cat. These meals are not designed for those
Yeah.
pets, so it's not good for the pet, but it's not good for the individual because they're not getting the nutritional intake. And so,
They're not putting
we
their oxygen mask on first, but we're helping out the animal, so to
we
speak.
we have an unbelievable amount of support with donated pet food, and so it's a supplemental pet food we provide these people.
Vince, I
We
had no idea.
we also do work with some veterinary clinics
Mhm.
for vet care, and it's amazing what happens with our animals. Some of these pets are 19 and 20 years old,
Oh,
and so
wow.
I mean, you would it's amazing.
We're man, we lost a few. Actually, I had a coworker, one of my ladies, um, lost 2, recently. I mean, and we like to think that we're the ones taking care of these furry little critters and then realize that it's the other way
They're
around
taking
when the
care of
dog is,
us.
and you just don't, it just doesn't hit, on the emotional support these little guys do for us and just absorb it all in. That is so cool. I had no idea you were doing that until today. Um, let's wrap up with just a few more questions. I think this is an important one. The senior population in San Antonio is growing fast. Is the demand outpacing the capacity that y'all have right now? I mean, you guys have to forecast stuff. I'm curious what that looks like. Again, to create some urgency with our listeners here on
Yeah.
what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we are 2 years ago, we were serving roughly 4,200 people a day. And given some of the cutbacks in funding that we have received, fairly drastic cutbacks 2 years in a row, we've had to more right size what we were doing
Hmm.
to make sure that we're going to be here for
Keep those
another
40,
50
yeah,
years there.
and
So
continue with those
we
4,200.
there are a lot of folks that don't know about Meals on Wheels. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We are here to serve the community, to help the community. We're owned by the community. A lot of people have never heard of Meals on Wheels and the work we do. Some people think we're just a food delivery organization. I think by talking today, you'll understand that
I'm
we're
seeing
far
a
more
whole
than
nother
that.
aspect of that.
But we're just one piece of the fabric to make the San Antonio region a better place to live and improve the quality of life. And so it's a challenge. Yes, we are underserving. Yes, we need to do more. A lot of nonprofits will talk about their work and how they're doing to try to, put themselves out of business. We all want to grow older. People are living longer,
Mhm.
but in the world we live in today, they will always have challenges. And so
No
the need
question.
to continue to support these individuals is going to be there.
Let's wrap up with this. How can we get involved? How can we help? I think that's a good segue, and what we'll talk to Katie about on some of the questions I have for her. I've got we'll talk about the website, the phone numbers that people can reach. What can people do to start helping?
Yeah, one of the things when I'm asked that, I think most people think that Vincent's going to say, "Oh, give us money." Well, money is help. Money
Yeah,
helps. Resources are good, but really, what we need is more awareness. Think about the people that live around you. Are they keeping care of their yard, taking care of their yard like they used to? Think about the people that you used to see in church. Are they there in their pew every Sunday, or when's the last time we saw them? We're all so busy, we forget about the people around us. So I would challenge our listeners today to think about those folks that they've known and they're not seeing. Maybe they should reach out and check on them. Just hey, how are you
I
doing?
love it.
And talk about Meals on Wheels and the services of Meals on Wheels. People don't know that we have these services that can help. Suggest that they call us. We may not be the answer to them, but we are good at plugging people into other services in the community.
The website here, just so I want to make sure it's accurate, for Meals on Wheels San Antonio is mowsatx.org.
That is
Correct?
correct.
That's the main number there. If for some reason you need to give them a call, the number is 210-735-5115. Love what you're doing. I am so glad. I thought we had caught up with everything before the show, and I just learned even more stuff in just our segment to talk about Meals on Wheels. When we wrap up the show, we're going to remind everybody again where they can contact and help out with that. Vincent, thank you,
Oh, thank you,
and,
Justin.
and the organization, and let's see if we can make it over there. I'll try to rally. I'm going to post this obviously online and let people, hey, go check it out, help where
That's
you
great.
can. But what you brought resonated. Just check on people. I think we just don't do that. And you're right. We get in the
We're
day
too
to
busy.
day
We are too busy.
busy, these phones, everything is just consuming us, and the humanity is just kind of drifting away, and that's a problem, and that's kind of scary. But
Thank you,
guys like
sir.
you are helping us keep that in line. Vincent, thank you so much. I'm going to segue into our next guest. Before I do that,
Mhm.
this is the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. We're spending most of the show. We're going to talk about. We just talked about Meals on Wheels with CEO Vinsen Faris regarding what they're doing here for the community. Now we're going to have a congressional candidate for Texas 23 that I invited to the show just to talk about some of the legislation that I think needs to be brought up, addressed. Any input, you're going to get to meet her as a candidate. We want to make sure we give everybody a platform to talk about what's going on because if you care and you want to help your constituents, let's listen. Let's listen to everybody off of that for that matter. But the Mad Insurance Show, Texas State Insurance Services and Palmetto Life Group are our agencies. But let's just go straight into our visit with Katy Padilla Stout. Thank you so much, Katy, for joining us today.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
We are excited about this because I wanted to. We're going to go over your background. You're obviously from here locally, San Antonio native. Vincent tried to get here as soon as he could. I got here back in '06. But let's dive in straight into the questions. Let's just get down to it. And first things first, who is Katy? What brought you to run for Congress? Let's dive in. That's important. I think a lot of people miss, the why. Let's dive into that first.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'm definitely from San Antonio, born and raised here. Been in the 23rd for quite some time. I am a graduate of Lee High School, and then I went to UT Austin for undergrad, where I majored in education, early childhood. Came back to San Antonio to teach for 3 years, was able to work with our refugee population, doing ESL in those classrooms, and then doing special ed inclusion. After that, decided I wanted to go to law school. Went to law school in Houston, met my husband there, interned under the Obama administration in their Office of Civil Rights, did a little stint with the DNC finance chair, primarily interned at Disability Rights Texas, advocating for kids with special needs. And then I got married. I met my husband on the first day of law school. We got married on graduation day, the last
How
day.
cool is that?
We had a surprise wedding, super fun, so that I could study for the bar. And so, we took the bar, spent that first summer married, came back to San Antonio. He was interning with Chief Justice Stone here in town. And I told him, hey, I want to go back to the classroom. Like, you look like you have this law thing figured out. Like, you go do that. I really miss working with kids. I want to go back. So I went back for 3 years, and then we fostered to adopted two of our boys, and we adopted them June 2nd. I gave birth to my daughter Ava June 10th.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we went from 0 to 3 in in
In
9
no
months.
time.
Yes, in no time. It was a busy week. And so I taught one more year. I was like, somebody's got to do something different, right? And so I decided I was going to join my dad's law practice and use my law degree. And this time I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to represent kids in foster care. So that's what I've been doing for the past almost 10 years.
We were talking about that a little bit. We had Casa, child advocate, and I didn't know. Just like I'm learning stuff with Vincent
Mm.
with Meals on Wheels, some of the stuff that happens there, you're given that underserved or just people that just didn't get a fair shake,
Yes.
an opportunity to try to thrive or correct that course that they could be on,
I
so
think
to
it's
speak.
really easy if you stay in your bubble to think, oh, everybody kind of is in the same situation, or everybody kind of has the same amount of resources or support. And working in fields like Vincent and I do, you really see like there is a huge spectrum, and there is a really large disparity between, what somebody on one side of town might have and what somebody on another side of town or somebody in your back door that you don't even
You don't even
recognize
know.
is really dealing with. And, you asked me why I'm running. This was not something I envisioned for myself. Tell everyone this was not on my bingo card for 2026. Well, I guess for 2026, but a year ago I did not know. And so it was kind of one of those slow things where I was very comfortable where I was at. I was working in children's court. I really enjoyed it. That gave me time to still go have lunch with my kids or volunteer at the school library and be with my friends and go to soccer
The good
practices.
stuff, the little things.
I was just really I was like, "Man, I have a really good balance here. Let's just turn that upside down."
Well, I
And
think
so
that segues into, hey, why we're getting some background
yes.
here. Why are you doing this?
So I, like everyone else, you talk about that loss of humanity that you just seen kind of on the national stage, especially that really hurt my heart because especially here in San Antonio, I feel like we do look after our own, right? Like we try to help those that we can. If there is a need and we're
Totally agree.
aware of that, we're gonna step in. And so to see kind of on a national stage that that wasn't happening was getting more and more frustrating. But oh, it's over there, right? That's in Washington or that's the administration, but like here in San Antonio with boots on the ground, we're going to have our people covered. And then I found out that the administration was going to cut SNAP. And SNAP is food assistance for most people think it's for children. I thought it was only for children. And I knew that I had about 300 kids on my caseload that weren't going to be able to eat or weren't going to have access to food. And how are we going to do that? I know the county government isn't going to step in for that or can't. They don't have the means to do that. The state government is not gonna do that either. Like, what are we gonna do to feed these children? Like, these very basic things, and so
The
everyone's
kids,
the
I mean, children.
children. So then I was like, "This is horrifying." Like, this is just because it had never been done before because we're a proper country. Like, we have means in place to be able to protect our most
No doubt.
vulnerable. And so no one else had ever said, "Hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put, these most vulnerable children up on the chopping block. We're gonna cut this funding." And so that was really scary because we had never done that before, something our country had never even contemplated when things were as bad as they were. Nobody ever said, "Hey, put the hungry kids up on the chopping block." So then I found out that SNAP didn't just help children, right, and foster care and other people who need that, but it was a big part of Meals on Wheels. Is where Meals on Wheels gets their funding. So I'm like, extra horrified now. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna not feed our most vulnerable children and we're not going to feed our most vulnerable senior citizens, then what are we doing? Like, as a country, if we are doing all of these wonderful things, like, we need to be taking care of our children. We need to be taking care of our elderly. Like,
Yeah.
those are that is something very, very basic that I think red or blue, everybody can agree on, right? Like, these are the 2
The
kinds
right
of
thing to
people.
do.
These are the right things to do, right? We don't put them up on we don't supplement these people. We don't subject them to that. And so that was kind of the largest kind of stepping stone
That
towards
set the fire there.
it
Okay,
did.
now I understand.
And then the last one was, I knew that Representative Gonzalez was going to be vulnerable this election cycle just because, everyone understood the personal scandal that had happened. And I just kept thinking, no, somebody else will run, right? Like someone will run, they'll find a moderate, common sense Republican somewhere and they'll put that person up and I can keep going to soccer practice, and that would
Yes.
be lovely. And I'm calling my Democratic friends. I'm like, "Hey, y'all got anybody
Who's
like
jumping in
here
here?
who's jumping in here? Who wants to come?" And everybody's like, "Not me, not anybody else." And so at the end of the day, I, as a mom who sends her kids to public school and understands those challenges, I just couldn't fathom someone who calls himself, what does he call himself? AK guy,
Yeah.
representing the county of Uvalde, right? And what just disrespect to those families that have endured the most
That was
tragic
horrible
thing
that
you
happened
can.
down there as well.
And so I just said, okay, like I'm in, let's do it. Like, I mean, at this point, what do we have to lose, right? Like, no one else is stepping up.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed being able to use either my privilege or my platform to help children, help families, help people get into healthier situations. And so it's what I've spent my life doing. It's what I want to continue to do. And I would absolutely be honored if I were chosen to or elected to be able to do that. But I think at the bottom end, yes, we can't count on our government to do everything. We don't need to do that. But what we do need to do is make sure that we have our priorities straight, right? And that where we can help our people, we are, because that's what the government's job is.
And I want to be, as nonpartisan. I at a very early age, politically, it's the person.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, you've got your parties, and we have these lines and stuff. And I think, both sides, I'm not real happy with right now, just because I see what's going on. I'm like, God, can we just figure this out? I don't care who's
Hmm.
in office. You're
That's
absolutely
exactly how I feel. I'm like, this is not a red or a blue thing. This is like a people thing, right? Like it's a
a
humanity
humanity
thing.
American deal.
Yes.
I mean, we have the rest of the world looking at us right now.
Mhm.
Okay, not it's just not us. We've got other people. Yeah, we've got our problems here in the United States, but people are still trying to die to get here.
Mhm.
There's a reason for that, and hopefully, you guys can figure it out there in Congress. But now we have an idea of, your background,
Mhm.
what charged you up, okay, and I love that. No question, District 23 is just kind of on fire. You've got it up in limbo, and you said, "Hey, I'm gonna step it up." The Uvalde thing helped, you say, "Hey, listen, we gotta do something here." And listen, I'm on both sides. I get the guns, I get the violence. You know, can we try to figure something? It just seems like, hey, one, it's either this way or the highway or this way or the highway. And I'm just hoping we can have some common ground there.
Well, I think a lot of people are in that common ground space, right? Like no one is at this, my opponent is kind of a Second Amendment absolutist, believes there should be absolutely no guard, like no age limit. He wants to legalize all kinds of machine guns, right? Like the average person does not want that.
Yeah,
The average person doesn't think a 16-year-old should be able to go into a store and buy a machine gun that's
I
not
can agree with
regulated.
that.
Okay, right? Like nobody believes that. On the other end, they're like, oh, like the Democrats are going to come in, they're going to like go door to door and take all your guns, right? Like, I'm like, nobody wants to do that either.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody wants to do either of these
You know
2
the
things.
undertaking that would be, even if that was the case. I mean, so
Yes, but
no,
there is all of this gray space in the middle, right, where we can really kind of do some work, like real work that will help people. And so I think getting everybody kind of out of that, and I'm like you, like we don't ever see the people, we see, you know, um, we don't see the party, we see the people.
mhm.
And so, I had one of my largest like kickoffs, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I think 30% of the people here are Republicans, right? But they're my friends and they support me and they're here and they want to do what's right. And so I I just think that people get lost in
I
that.
like you saying that because I just think, hey, we can have arguments. I have friends that don't have the same views as me, but man, if something gets down and dirty, I'm there to help them out.
Mhm.
I mean, we have our spat a little bit, and then we just get back to our lives and love each other and take care of everybody as well. I think we're missing that component. Real quick, before I forget to bring this up, and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about you selfishly on our industry. What are maybe 2 or 3 things that you're seeing the constituents bringing to the table? Is it the Uvalde thing? Is it the SNAP? Is it other what are those 2 to 3 that you're seeing out there? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Everything, right? I've traveled this district 4 separate times, 800 miles, hundreds and hundreds of miles, and everybody wants to talk about the same thing. It's affordability,
Mhm.
right? Like that American dream is slipping further and further away.
Yeah, it
And
is.
for those of us who have our own business and have felt like, oh, okay, like I've made it, right? Like 10 years ago, if you had had what you have now, you would have said, oh, yes, like this is wonderful. It's just not going as far as it used to for anybody. Right. And so we're seeing this kind of stagnant of everybody's kind of getting divided into two different places. And we need a middle class. We need a strong middle class. America thrives on a strong middle class. And right now, the people who are hurting the most are middle class. And that's the backbone of our country. So we need to have policies put in place that really support and uplift that middle class. Because when that happens, guess what? People who own small businesses, right, who are at the top of that, the upper echelon of that upper middle class, right? Then they have customers. They have people that can come to them. They have people that can buy their product. They have people that can hire their services. They have people that can promote
It
that.
affects everything.
It affects, and so that's what I keep saying. I'm like, we're all connected, and there seems to be a group of individuals that really kind of understand that concept and a group of people who don't, right? And so I'm the first to engage with people and things that I feel really passionate about, and the SNAP benefits were one of those. And people were like, well, they should have to, pay their own way or, whatnot. I'm like, who do you think is going to pay the difference when the grocers aren't getting the same amount of money they were getting before? Right? Like if we just take away that funding and say, "Hey, we're not gonna fund this anymore, 30%," like they're gonna raise their prices.
Yeah.
They're not gonna they're not gonna
Well,
eat
we're
that.
that's what they've been doing. That's what's been
Yeah,
happening,
exactly.
and I'm glad you're just honing in on that, the affordability.
Yes.
I mean, what's going on, and here's the catch. Let's segue into one of my first questions on Social Security. We're looking down a barrel of a gun with 20 to 30% cuts
Mhm.
on Social Security, and I don't think people are really talking about this. You'll see some headlines on that. That's a problem when, that could be the primary income or only income
Mhm.
for these individuals. And they've got to navigate their medical costs that are going to increase. They're having to navigate food and have you guys come in with Meals on Wheels. I would be, it's one of the reasons why I have this show is to try to raise that alarm bell, whether at you or your opponent or anybody, the nonprofits. We got a storm coming.
Mhm.
If we're complaining about how much things cost, we're talking now about taking what we have to take on that cost getting cut back again as well.
Mhm.
Give me some insight. Has that been caught up or brought up with Social Security out in the community that you're talking to?
The community, so we've talked to a lot of seniors. We go to a lot of different clubs and events, and they seem to be the majority of the members that are out there that really care about what's going on because they see what's coming. And so they are definitely worried about Social Security. I haven't heard 20 to 30%, but they are starting to sound the alarm bells on that. I I just think those are the last things we cut. Those are
Yeah.
the absolute last things. They are direct services to people, direct services to being able to afford their home, afford their medicine, afford basic living, right? Like that is not the first thing we're cutting. That is the last thing we're cutting.
We're not these individuals that are depending on that income are not splurging with it. They're not squandering
No,
it. They
no.
are getting as frugal as they possibly can from what I'm because I mean the senior clients that we help out with and here's the deal. I see both sides of the spectrum. One minute I'm, in a home, South San Antonio, guys rolling around a wheelchair, needing some help on a Medicare review.
Mhm.
And the next minute I'm in, a nice neighborhood or a great office building helping out, another class of local citizen off of that. So I'm seeing, and even the people that have the means are complaining about the costs,
Well,
as
that's
well.
the problem, right? And I say that all the time. Like, I mean, I'm an attorney, right? I have my own business. Our kids live a certain lifestyle that they've become accustomed to. My husband's an attorney, and I'm going to Costco, and I'm like, excuse me, like, what is this bill? Like, how are we going to pay this? We just can't afford that, right?
Yeah.
We can't afford what we used to afford. And so there are a lot of people who don't have dual income households or who don't have graduate degrees that are out there with their own business. And so I'm like, if we're over here hurting and really trying to make ends meet and really saying, okay, guys, we're only buying this, this, and this week, I think that the majority of people must be feeling the same way.
The one of the things that, and this is one something that I put in our questions, there's some proposals that would raise a retirement age of 60 or 70 years old. And I think we're kicking the can down the road on something like that. Maybe at some point that could be something to consider, but it's coming down to a funding thing. And if we're, again, I try to be as neutral as I can, but when we're worried about, you know, global situations instead of domestic, I think a lot of people get hurt, and that's happening right now.
Well,
Any
those are
take on
kind of
that?
like extra things, right?
Yeah,
Like, I think anybody that's run a household or run things, there are things that are like our mortgage. We got to pay our mortgage, right? And that would kind of be our domestic issues. Like, we have to address
which has
that.
gone up.
That has to be paid. Like, that has to be before we're taking the vacation, before we're buying the new car, before we're doing any of those other things that are extra, right? Then we have to be able to take care of what we need here at home. And I think that that's absolutely true. But I think another big part of that is just our, which you probably know more about, which is just our tax scheme, right?
Hmm.
Like as a teacher, when I was teaching, I don't think it's gone up at all. I was able to claim $200 reimbursement on supplies, right? As a small business owner, I can claim whatever I want to
Oh yeah,
claim, right? If you're a
it's a great
CEO,
point.
you can claim your jet, right? So I'm spending $1,000 every year decorating my classroom,
You're
trying to get stuff
bankrolling
for my
that.
kids. I'm bankrolling public education and I can't even claim it on my taxes?
Yeah.
Like, what in the world? So that whole system is devised of people who haven't been in that situation. I always laugh whenever we started, and my husband and I were just married and I went back to teaching. So I have to start all over again because I didn't think I was going to teach again, right? So I'm spending $2,000 trying to get everything up and running. Like, he's like, "Oh, where are you submitting these receipts?" I'm like,
We get a couple $100 back. We're
we
gonna.
hey, don't worry. In April, a year from now, we will be able to claim $200 on our taxes. I hope
th-
that's okay.
That's a great point. I mean, that's a little tweak, a little incentive that could be tweaked for educators and all that. And listen, I started. I'm an entrepreneur guy. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and man, it was tough. Trying to make stuff happen and any tax break that I could get. Because hey, I am taking on that time, money, and effort. I mean, it took a decade to really get, and maybe not a decade, but 8 years,
Mm.
to really get stuff home and in because there was so much chaos in the industry off of that. Um, if we can utilize that, I think that's a great point on what you as educators can line up as well. Um, Rising healthcare costs.
Oh my
We kind of
goodness.
we're talking about some of the important aspects of your campaign and what you're trying to do. We talked about Social Security. We can go on for a while on that. Okay,
Mhm.
more than anything, I just wanted to, hey, let's talk about it, address it, and then hopefully that becomes a subject matter for all of our local legislatures that are running right now. Highest uninsured rate in the country going on right now. Okay, and I raised the alarm bells this past fall. There was some legislation that could have been, extended. Okay. I understand the right side's argument. Oh no, we need to let it expire. Um, and they did. And I think they called it wrong. And I had a good friend and carrier client that was on one of my shows. Hey, we can't depend on the government to help bail us out. You are absolutely right. But I saw middle class America get absolutely crushed this fall, going from a $200 a month premium to 1,200, from a $800 family premium to 4,000.
So
You know,
here's where I get confused, right? Because we talk about these things in really big terms. And I'm a former kindergarten teacher. So I'm like, let's break it down, right? You're saying we can't depend on the government to support us. I understand that, right? Argument.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, when it comes to that specific legislation, that was our tax dollars.
no question.
So that was our tax dollars. That wasn't like some amorphous fund that came from somewhere else. Like those were our specific Texas tax dollars. So those tax dollars cannot come back to help us Texans. then what exactly were we paying those taxes for? Because I could have kept those taxes and now I could afford my insurance premium that just went up 3 times.
Mhm.
But tell me why I gave you that money when then, yes, the expectation was that that money was gonna do something to enrich our lives. That's why we gave it to you.
That's a great point, and I mean, even with the Trump administration that came in, they were like, "Oh, repeal it and repeal it," and then finally said, "You know what? Let's just make it better." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I like that
Yeah,
idea."
let's do something.
No, and then COVID hit, and that derailed everything. And I thought the Trump administration would, help out with a special enrollment period for people that just didn't
But
have
this is
insurance.
what we're talking about, right? Like, it's so divisive between red versus blue
No question.
that your people suffer. And I guess in that respect, I don't understand that as an attorney or as a teacher because as an attorney, and as you do, right? You have a fiduciary duty to your client. You don't get to say, well, I don't really like this person. So even though I know my client's going to really benefit, I'm going to say no, right? That fiduciary duty stops you from being able to do that.
I love you bringing that up because in our industry, we don't get paid by some of the products that we help people enroll in.
Hmm.
We're doing that time, money, and effort just because it's the right thing to do and get
Exactly.
that lined up.
And
So,
so why our leaders don't have a fiduciary duty to your clients, I have no idea. But I guarantee you elect me, and that's the only way I know how to operate. So I'm not going to say, well, I don't like this person, so I'm not going to do that, which is essentially how I felt like our legislature did, right? Like we were going to do, everybody calls it Obamacare. It was really a Republican healthcare plan
yeah,
that we agreed to go through, right? So we put your healthcare plan through. Then I don't know, you got upset about that. So now instead of giving us the money that we were supposed to get because they were so mad, they said, "No, keep that money. We don't want it." Right? We're going to cut off our nose to spite our face and we're going to hurt our people, which are essentially our clients. And so our Texas money went all over the state, all over the
yeah, all over the
country
country.
to places who didn't have that problem. And then they got even lower health rates, right? And we got higher ones. And people can't afford to do that. We can't afford to go from 200 to $800. I will tell you with my student loans they were like, we don't like Biden's plans, get him out, scrap him. They're the same plans that everybody's been having for multiple
It's the headline.
administrations,
It gets everybody
right?
talking.
Yes, they're like, oh, okay, like scrap that. I've been paying $600 because we have 4 kids, all these things, and they were like, "Okay, that's gone. Now you owe us $2,500 a month." Excuse me?
Yeah.
That is over 4 times what I was paying. Like, how are people supposed to do that? No one
I've
can do
I've
that.
just been able to see our legislatures within a drop of a hat be able to flip a switch and make stuff happen. They
Mhm.
did that in both administrations.
Mhm.
Obama, Trump, Biden. I've seen it. It can get corrected. Okay, it
Absolutely.
can get and you can help people quickly off of that. It's just a matter of pushing that through. We talk about the Affordable Care Act costs, and I mean we're almost at the end of the show. I want to talk about good news. Let's talk about something that actually has been helping. I will tell you, like on the Medicare side of the industry, prescription drug costs
Mhm.
are going down. I had clients, for years were having to hit $6,000, $8,000 maximum limits, on their prescription drugs. We have kind of brought that, pharmaceutical cartel reins in, from from all that cost standpoint because people were just getting hammered on, you know, these medications. These GLP-1s is the big argument. I will tell you, I'm really thankful because that's helping my clients out. Is what's happening legislatively on the cost of medications. I hate to fire and brimstone and everything, world's falling apart. But hey, that has been a huge help, and that's been both administrations
Mhm.
and sides of the party. And I think that's been. I mean, Chip Roy, when I went to Capitol Hill a few years ago, I got to talk to him, and man, he had a plan. There are congressional people that hey, they care, they're trying to put together a plan, but you got some challenges to take on multiple people you work with there in Washington. So
I'll end on a positive note, even though I don't really have permission to share this, but, so hopefully they don't mind, but, our in our neighborhood where we live, we have, a high-ranking Republican official here in Bexar County that lives across the street.
okay.
Our kids just became friends by happenstance, right? Like, they
Cool.
just found each other or whatever. So they hang out all the time, right? They're together, they do all of these things, and so I just feel like, people say Washington changed once people didn't keep living there and their kids. It's hard to be mean to somebody that you know your child's gonna go to their birthday party
Yeah.
next week. Like, it kind of keeps everything really civil. And people are like, "No, no, I don't think that's what it is." I'm like, "It could be, because I guarantee you, like, those children kind of bond us, and everybody kind of works together because we all do have so many more things in common than we
Then
do
we
have
think
differences."
I totally agree with that.
Mhm,
I think that's a great way we end the show and the
mhm.
segment here with you, Katie. Justin Holland, you're listening to the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. Haven't talked much about insurance other than some of the legislation details with Katy Padilla Stout, but we had a great guest, CEO Vinsen Faris from Meals on Wheels, join us. Talked about that exceptional organization. Again, thank you for what you're doing. I can't wait to get over there to the facility again, see what we can do to contribute. And if you're listening, Meals on Wheels, 210-735-5115. You can visit mowsatx.org. And then also take a look at Katy Padilla Stout online. You can look her up. She's out
Yeah.
there. Can you give me an idea on your website and help
So
people?
all of them, the website's Katy for Congress, Katyfor, katyforcongress.com. But all of our social handles are Katy, Katy with the number 4 Congress.
Okay,
So you
great.
can find us everywhere. We'd be happy to have you. Feel free to message us. My staff gets mad because I message everybody back individually, but send it
You
out.
messaged me back. I
Yeah.
love it. So I appreciate that. And I cannot thank you enough for joining us on the show. You're very busy. Vincent, you've been busy too. And I think this is a great show. I hope we get some value out to everybody. And I can't thank everybody enough on the listeners that have been watching us online. Maybe you're seeing one of our short video clips, but take a look at Meals on Wheels. Please take a look at Katy Padilla Stout's stout for Texas 23. Anything you want to wrap up with?
Ah, thank you, Justin. It's been great.
Vincent, great.
The road always rises.
I
Better times ahead, sir.
hopefully
And
I can bring you back.
Thank you for helping make that happen.
No, it's our pleasure, Katie. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week, San Antonio. Take care.